AITA, am I the a-hole for not taking a joke that my boyfriend made? My boyfriend and I met a few friends for drinks this evening. He was finishing some work, so I left the flat first, and he met up with us later on. On our walk home, he abruptly asked me if I had the key. Small context, our lock recently broke and until it's properly replaced, we have a temporary lock and only one key. Typically the rule is that the last person to leave the flat takes the key, unless we know that one of us will be home earlier. I said I didn't, because I assumed he would take it, as he left the flat last. He became extremely upset and agitated. He demanded why I hadn't taken the key, and said that he was sure I'd used it last and so must have lost it or misplaced it, causing him to forget it. He repeatedly said things along the lines of "we're fucked because of you, you realize that, and I can't believe you did this." Towards the beginning, I assumed he was joking and laughed a little, which prompted him to snarl, "You think this is a frocking joke? You locked us out? You lost the key?" This continued for over 5 minutes. By the time we got to the flat, I was nearly crying. We stood outside of the flat for another few minutes while my boyfriend berated me. He made me peek over one of the windows, to look at the space where we normally leave the key. He said, "It's not there, is it?" "Right. And whose fault is that?" I sat down on the front steps and was burying my face in my hands and thought I was going to be sick. Finally he said, "All right then. Let's go inside." When I looked up, he was taking the key out of his pocket. It was all a joke. He's now genuinely angry at me because I went directly to shower and have been very quiet for the remainder of the evening. He says I can't take a joke. I hate being the humorless bitch, but I really feel this went beyond a joke. Am I being an overly sensitive a-hole? TL, winking and laughing. R, boyfriend spent 5 to 10 minutes berating me for losing the key. Turns out he had the key. I'm hurt and annoyed. AITA, am I the a-hole? NTA, not the a-hole. He played a cruel joke on you, verbally abused you until you cried, and is now gaslighting you. Check out the emotional abuse tab at the bottom of the below page. I hope you don't recognize your situation in any of that, but I fear you will. https://www.thehotline.org/isthisabuse/abuse-defined/. That's emotionally abusive as hell. I hate to be the one to say this, but please run like hell. I was previously in an emotional abusive relationship where my ex loved to make jokes that, like your boyfriend's, involved talking down to me or saying things that he knew would upset me. Please run. Agree. NTA, NTA, NTA. As a sensitive woman in a relationship with a jokester, this is way too far and isn't a joke, it's emotional abuse. He likely enjoyed toying with you and your emotions and feeling superior over you. Run. Yep, NTA, he's testing the waters and gaslighting her, making her question her perception about his actions and intentions. This is exactly how abuse starts, little jokes here and there, designed to desensitize her to the emotional abuse and condition her to think she's out of line for standing up to him. It's also meant to slowly tear down her self-esteem. It will get worse, this is only the beginning. OP, I hope you run. Please. Do not listen to him, it's not just a joke. He's going to back up and charm you/love bomb you when he realizes he went too far too soon, and you'll think he learned and won't do it again. It really was a joke. He'll just wait until you're more attached and more invested to start again, maybe more subtle, could even be months later before it starts again. Abusive men are patient, they know she'll leave if he takes off the mask before he's properly groomed her. And his mask will be the perfect boyfriend, so when it goes away she'll wonder what the hell happened and he'll brainwash her to blame herself for the change. He'll tell her it's her fault, and she needs to change so the relationship can go back to normal. In fact, he'll reverse everything and insist she changed, not him. But that's not true, that man she fell in love with never existed. This is the real him. He'll reverse victim and abuser throughout the relationship and use your justified anger against you. He will probably complain about how mean you were being to him tonight, and how unfair it is, while writing off your feelings as not acceptable. Exactly what he's doing now, dismissing your distress and making it about him. The person he showed you tonight is who he actually is. Don't write it off, please. I know it might seem like we're exaggerating, but that's how he gets you to stay, by leaving enough plausible deniability so you always doubt taking those steps away from him. Trust your gut. Seriously, please. And I know what your gut is telling you, BC you posted here. I'm glad you did. It's easy to think you won't be that girl, you won't fall for it, you'd never put up with abuse, those girls just need to leave. But you need to understand that's what every woman who ends up emotionally and sometimes physically and financially trapped in an abusive relationship thinks. The only women that are safe are the ones that fucking run as soon as the behavior starts, and that is exactly where you are. Choose wisely. Also, the worse he treats you while you continue to stay and forgive, the less he will respect you. The less he respects you, the worse he will treat you. Once he acts like this, like the story you told, there is literally no going back, you have to leave. Nothing good comes next. Please update if you can. Edit, thanks for the awards and making this post more visible. I wanted to add that you are worthy and deserving of real love, and love is a verb. His actions are not love. Words are cheap, it costs nothing to say I love you, always pay attention to actions. If his actions don't match his words, they obviously aren't. People who love you don't do what he did, then believe what he does. No matter how painful leaving is, the pain will go away and you will be happy you loved yourself enough. Love yourself before anyone else. Edit 2, and he's going to apologize eventually if he realizes that's what it takes. Not after he tries to get you to apologize as well, don't do it. Either way he'll say it if he has to. Means nothing, they're just words to manipulate you. Don't gaslight yourself and pretend it's okay because he said sorry, all because the truth is too ugly and painful to face. You want to go back to the beginning, back to the fantasy. This will be too easy because again, he's going to love bomb you. It's not real. Face it, please. He is abusive, he won't change, he doesn't love you despite being good at pretending sometimes, and a life of misery is ahead of you if you stay. You have one life to live, one. Don't waste it on him, please. You are worthy of actual love. As a kid, sometimes I'd lose something and throw a fit. I lost things a lot, ADHD, and my parents always made me feel pretty bad about it, or made a comment about how I'd probably just find it later. And when I did find it later in an obvious place, I'd sometimes hide it somewhere else so it looked like it was somewhere ridiculous, or if I was being especially childish I'd hide it in someone else's stuff so it was their fault. I'm guessing this is similar to what happened here. He couldn't find the key and berated her, and then realized he had it, so he made up the whole just a joke thing so he wouldn't seem like an idiot. It's something I would totally have done. As a child. That wasn't a joke. I don't know what exactly that was, but it wasn't a joke. If he had said he found it a few seconds after saying he didn't have it, then yeah. But 10 minutes and berating her. I agree. That wasn't a joke. This particular strain is called reactive abuse. The abuser will poke and prod at the victim until they get a reaction, then flip it around and convince the victim that they're the ones being abusive. My ex used to do this to me, said he felt like he was walking on eggshells around me. Ops boyfriend knows exactly what he's doing. AITA for being the victim of emotional abuse. That's your title. NTA. I hope you reevaluate your relationship. NTA, not the a-hole at all, I get a haha I had it if he only did that for like 10 seconds or something, but that is just mean to the point that if he does that often I would call T mentally abusive. I'm sorry that you had to deal with that, he's the a-hole. Yeah, that's my problem. A brief, shoot, do you have the key? Kidding. Would have been funny. But I felt that this whole performance really put a damper on the evening, and I just feel awkward and weird now, especially because he's angry at me. I don't really know how to talk to him about it, because his response to stuff like this is usually, cool, I'll never make a joke with you again. Good to know. And TA, he thinks it is a joke to verbally abuse you? To give you the fault? Did he really think that this was a nice joke? The moment you were crying he should have stopped and told you it was a joke. He didn't and let you cry to his amusement. What the hell are yas doing with that poor excuse of a man? Frock no, and TA dump his ass. Now. That wasn't a joke or prank. I can't even begin to explain how wrong of him this was. And TA, doesn't sound like much of a joke to me. And then he gets mad at you for not finding it funny? Yeah, he is a jerk. At least in this example. Hopefully this isn't how he is all the time, because this is abusive behavior. You were upset, not laughing after. He kept on you, was insulting you, etc. How is that supposed to be funny? If he would have apologized after, I'd say it was a one-off, but honestly, you two need to get on the same page. This boils down to basic respect. And TA. That was just mean-spirited, and if I were you I would walk myself out of that relationship. Jokes are only funny if both people are laughing. That is absolutely emotional abuse. And TA. He is worse than an asshole. I could not ever be with someone who would ever act like that if I had forgotten the key. And TA. Number 1, him berating you for 10 minutes. Number 2, him getting angry at you for not getting the joke. Number 3, him getting angry at you being upset. Number 4, him not apologizing. Get the hell out. Quick. What is even funny about that? There isn't even an element of a joke. This is concerning. And TA, he insulted you and made you feel awful for 5 minutes. That's not a joke, it's awful. Jokes tend to make all parties involved laugh. If it's only funny to the person making the joke, then it's not a frocking joke, it's generally considered rude. This is sadistic. When most people notice their joke isn't well received, they stop. This motherfrocker kept going until you cried. This is really super duper disturbing behavior on his party. The fact that he's now mad at you for reacting like any human would after being relentlessly belittled? Nuh-uh honey. It's a huge Reddit cliché, but he just told you who he was, so listen. Your feelings are not a joke, your response was normal, and he's a massive a-hole. And TA, not the a-hole.